Hello, everybody. We are all like bowing down to Beck's reading speed right now. Thoroughly amazed.
Incredible.
Hello. Yay. I didn't think you were going to continue, so I'm glad you did. I'm glad you're here. Hello. Hello. All the highs. Cassie, this is your jam. Go for it.
Oh,
I don't know what to say.
I thought I passed the baton. Hi everyone. Welcome to the live show. If you're in the comments and you read the book, let us know what you rated the book. If you DNF'd it, let us know. And if you're just here for a fun time, let us know.
Does that mean we should go through our ratings really quickly, or do we want to not set the precedents?
No, we should go through our ratings. Let's go start with you, Mel, and go down.
I liked it generally better than the first book's reread. It came out exactly out of 5. Like I felt very just meh. It was exactly a 5, so it's a 2.5 star.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I was misunderstanding you at first.
Exactly in the middle, like out of 10. It's a 2.5 star.
I liked this one less than the first one, but I did still like it. I gave the first one 4.5. I'm giving this one 3.5.
Okay. Seems to be a trend happening because I like this one less than the first one, and I liked the first one. I gave the first one 4, and I'm giving this a 3.
Nice.
But it's like solid 3.
I'm very undecided on my rating. I did not hate this one.
See, there's a trend.
My spreadsheet gave it like a really high 2, but I think it might actually be a 3.
Ooh,
this is interesting because obviously me and Kaylee were defense squad for the first book, and we're like,
I mean, I still didn't love it, but
yeah, I know,
it's better though.
Just like the two enjoyed it more. Interesting.
I thought the writing was a lot better, which was my biggest complaint in the first one. So,
yeah, I agree with that. It was better edited, I feel like, just generally, but lots of 3s. Lots of 3s.
Everyone agrees in the comments.
And we gave
I'll give it kind of a 3. Kind of.
Though,
kind of, yeah.
Say, I am not impressed because there seems to be a trend going on with BACKLIST book club reads for me, because think back to the very first series you read, 3 stars, and then a 2 stars. But actually, I ended up bumping it down to 1 for the second sequel. Then for Winnowing Flame, gave the first one a really high 4 star, then the second one is a 4, and the third one was a 3, and it's happening again. So I swear, if the last book is a 2 star, I'm going to be so upset.
Beck was like, I'm out. Sorry, Cassidy, I'm out.
Same.
Or the book, and then just don't read the rest of the series.
Yeah.
3.5, 3 star. Give it a 2.5 to a 3. Oh. Did like the book less. I think it's a book that wasn't needed.
Oh, I agree with that. 100%.
I think for me, it was more of I felt like it was better written and better like edited, even though the story itself wasn't better. Like the plot really struggled. So I think in this one, I gave the plot a 4. So
it's definitely a bit of middle book syndrome.
Mm-hmm. My biggest issue was the pacing. I felt like there was nothing, and then a ton would happen in 2 pages, and then nothing, and I was like,
I would agree.
What?
No, it was Caden's chapters for me. I wanted to die.
Yes.
Oh,
I haven't read
the rest of the book I enjoyed like about the same, I would say, maybe slightly less. But his chapters really brought it down.
Yeah, agreed. I'm just
I'm trusting.
And then Rachel's comment.
It's like we have warring sides here. I think it hinges on the end. If you like the plot reveal, then people love it, and if you don't love the plot reveal, then it's not worth it.
Yeah,
kind of the gist I get from those that have read the 3rd book.
See,
yeah, with Deb, this book was way too long. There was no reason for it to be 700 pages.
Yeah.
of
I think
literal
I'm
exposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm cautiously optimistic for the last one though, because as I said, while there is a trend for backlist book club reads for me, I'm constantly going down. I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about the next one because I feel like with this one, I think like maybe like the first book, like when he like obviously was planning to write this, I think he had like obviously like the beats he wanted to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like so then like he wrote the first book, you know, and then it was like, getting properly published and all of this traditionally, not properly. um, then I think when he sat down to write this book, he's like, okay, so I need to hit all these things for me to be able to end the series. Like
Yeah.
I'm just guessing because I haven't read the last book yet, obviously. But I think,
It feels
and then
like
he
that.
realized, I think, he's like, oh, but if I want to do this in like the last book, they need to know the context, which is why Caden's chapters I think were such a drag because he was like, okay, I have to give them all the history and world building somewhere.
But you could have done that so much better. Like I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
can you
Oh,
just
no,
take all
that's
of
why I'm
this and put it
complaining
in a
about it.
prequel?
Yeah, like I felt like this book existed because of the amnesia in the first book.
Yes.
Because we got the amnesia in
And
the first
so-
book so that we were surprised and shocked by the reveal in the first book, but he came to the second book was like, now I need to tell them all the information I didn't tell them in the first book about this
Yeah.
random new character, because Caden feels like a brand new character to me. And like he is. He has new memories, he's a new person.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like
That's
we
why I'm
could
kind
have
of cautious. I'm like optimistic about the last one because I'm like, well, now he's done this. Like it's out of the way, so that
Yeah.
we can like properly focus. Like we're like obviously there's gonna still be like bits of world building and everything, but like we can properly focus on the plot. I think in the last book,
Hopefully.
hopefully. So
I don't really know where this plot is going though. Like I don't see a thread. I don't know if that's just me.
No. It's just very much like amping its way to a certain thing. Like you can tell that there is a reveal that he wants to give, and everything up to that point is just trying to get you to that. It's like the boundary and all of that is an afterthought to me. And the politics and stuff. Because I liked Weir's POV a lot better in this book than I did in the
Who's
first
my
one.
favorite?
Yeah.
Asha, she's just
Weird.
there on purpose and she's out. Like
Weir's point of view was so fun to read about because that's where we got all of the political maneuverings. I wanted even more political maneuverings in Weir's point of view, but Weir, his last book, Davian, was my favorite, and this book, Weir, was definitely my favorite to read from.
Yeah, I think Weir's the reason I would consider giving it a 3, because like I actually look forward to Weir's chapters. And like that was different for me. Like last time I dragged my way through, this time I was like, okay, hurry up, let's get back to Weir.
yeah,
I didn't even mind the romance in his point of view.
yeah.
No,
So I didn't mind Davian's either, and I think again this is another thing. Is I felt like obviously Caden's chapters we all agreed that was a problem, but I also think Asha's also for some reason felt disconnected from the story, whereas I felt like even though Davian and Weir were in completely different places in the world, their stories still connected. Like there was things that Weir was mentioning that directly connected to what Davian was doing, and things that Davian was mentioning that directly connected. And so like they felt part of the same story. Whereas like Asha was just, I don't know, off running around in tunnels.
That's kind of how I feel about Davian, though. I felt like, although I agree with what you're saying, I just felt like nothing actually exciting happened in his
I
chapters.
don't even remember his chapters really. Like I'm sitting here thinking about okay, what actually happened in his chapters, and I don't think I could tell you.
It was
Like I
just
remember Weir's. At least I know what happened with Asha, but Davian, I'm like,
Sorry, Kaylee, what did you say?
Davian and Weir, I feel like they do. I could see what Bex means with like the mirroring because they're both dealing with a lot of frustration trying to get things done that they want to get done. But I think if you actually went through and like plotted out what Davian did in this book, it would be a whole lot of nothing up until the end. It was just him existing.
Yeah.
Rachel will come
I
back.
feel like his chapters were way less. There was way less of his chapters in this book than like in the first book.
Absolutely. He felt kind of more of an afterthought to Caden.
I actually Wikipedia'd it, and Davian and Caden both have 30%. And then Weir and Asha have the same percent of chapters.
Really? I felt like Asha's were way less than Weir's.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
would
because I
have put
didn't
Caden
care.
as like number 1. Then I feel like
Only because I found after I read the book, I went and read a summary to help me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, okay, wait, what the fuck just happened? I don't want to reread this last 20%. I'm just going to find a summary and reread.
I will say I did appreciate the summary of the first book at the start of it.
I skipped it, but I probably should have read it.
Yeah, I feel like not understanding what is happening was due to the pacing issues for me, at least, because like we were saying, the plot was so slow, so just like people existing wherever they were at. And then literally like some crazy shit would go down in 2 pages and a ton of people would like die and then crazy things would happen and would change everything. And then in 2 pages, and then the next like section was like 4 days later. And I'm like, wait a second, like tell me more about what just happened in those 2 pages.
100%. The author also is very much still telling you things that like, are about to happen. Like there's one scene where it's in Damien's scene where the girl is supposed to be dead, but we were just told a page before that she's alive later on in a vision. And so I was like, I don't fear for you. Like I literally don't fear for you. I know you're alive because they had a vision of you doing this, and the visions, you can't change the visions.
Yeah.
So
Visions are your favoriteest thing ever in books.
I hate them so very much.
The reveal was 100% perfect. Yeah,
I did like this book though. Like 3.5 means I did like this book. There were just a lot of issues that like put it down to a 3.5, but I am still excited for book 3 because I really liked the first one and then I liked the second one. So I am hopeful for book 3 still.
Yeah. I will say one thing that irritated me in Weir's point of view was the mom. Like, I understand why she was such a class A bitch, but she drove me up the wall. It was so repetitive. I'm like, you're driving me crazy.
It felt so much like real life too.
I know. And it was very realistic. And that's why I was like, I'm not going to knock it down because of this, but I kind of want to shake you.
Yes.
Okay. Also, did I miss what an echo was in the first book?
Yes. But also I cannot remember what an echo was, but I was like, I definitely highlighted it. I remember highlighting a passage. And I can't remember.
Oh. I didn't remember it being in the first book.
Me either. And when I read it, I was like, why wasn't I told about this in the first book? I'm like relearning what an echo is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was definitely a mention of it, but as I said, I was too lazy to actually go through all my notes. Which why did I make notes on the first book? I wasn't going to use them.
No time.
No time.
This is definitely a book too that I could have like spent much more time with than I did and understand more about it. And that isn't where I'm like taking points off because that's just on me and how I prefer to read this. I like to like get through books and not like reread chapters over and over to get all the details and stuff. And so there are certain things like, for example, remembering what an echo is in book 1. Like some readers probably could remember that, but I'm not that reader. And that didn't bother me that much in this book because I feel like when I was just going based off of pure vibes in the story, eventually it would make sense. But there were some pure vibes moments where I was like, am I the problem here?
I tried a lot harder in this book to like, I think I said at one point to Mel, I know that things are going to happen conveniently. Like, I know that that's the style. So going into book 2, I was trying not to like hound on it because like I decided to pick this up knowing that I hated the first one. And so I do think that helped my enjoyment more because I just kind of was like, well, it is what it is. Like, it's not my favorite kind of style. Like, I don't see the next book getting more than a 3 from me just because like of all of that, but I'm trying not to like give it a 1 because of all of that stuff because like I know I hate those. So like, yeah. So I was trying to go off vibes more. I was trying to be Kaylee.
Do the vibes. I vaguely remember.
I don't. I mean, I probably could like be reading the section and it would come back to me, but in this moment, I couldn't tell you.
It honestly didn't even matter though. Like I was still also confused because I was like, wow, this one person's an echo and the book is named after it.
Yeah. I was like,
it's a great name for the book, but like.
But what is this again?
The other issue I really have with this book is all the characters' names are so similar. I kept confusing Alaric and the bodyguard.
Yeah,
he also has
3 different A names, and I'm like, no, too many
A names.
It really hits home when you go to the character list at the end of the book and the A's are like 20 names long. And I'm like, this is why I kept mixing people up.
Yeah.
I was really sad. I'm going to say we're going to jump into spoilers, really. I guess we kind of already did that, but...
spoiled yet, but let's jump into spoilers.
So if you haven't read it, you should probably head on out. Second book, what do you say without spoilers for either book?
Hey, we managed 15 minutes.
I will say that I wanted to be gut-wrenched when the bodyguard died, but it happened so quickly because I loved the bodyguard. And I was like, I loved their like banter, and I was like, ooh, friendship, yes. And then all of a sudden he's dead, and I was just like, wait, he's dead? Okay.
That was part of the pacing issue for me. That happened so many times with the bodyguard, and then with other people I didn't care about, but I wanted more payoff from their deaths. Like Priya, she died so fast, and she was pissing me off so much. I'm like, give us like a death sentence that she says or something. like make it a little bit longer of her death, where there's like some character moment. So it's just like she's so annoying, and she's such a big blockade in Weir's ability to like have authority in this section, and then she's just dead suddenly, and it happens almost off page even because it's so fast that we are just, she's alive and then she's dead, and then that happened with his mom too. I felt like, where it was like that was a little bit more payoff, where like she had that conversation, so I was less mad about that, but still I was like, this has been such a huge like hurdle that he's had to jump over for so long, and then like she's dead. I'm like, oh.
I agree. That just didn't have a lot of impact.
Be angry about his mom, I think, because what I think happened is because we see his mom like be on his side at the end, and then she dies, and I literally think it's so that the next book he still has this exact same struggle. Yeah, and I'm gonna be really annoyed at that, I think, in the next book if that's the case, because like we can get past this now. Like I don't need a whole nother book of him like doing the same thing he did in book two.
Yeah, because I think that's why the mom's death hit so hard, because it's like finally, like they understand this issue, and then of course everyone is dead and can't report back. Yeah. And I feel like that is a frustrating plot line to read, but like it's okay that it's frustrating because it's frustrating for the character too. But where my frustration turns into actual annoyance at the book is when it continues on for too long. And if that is in book 3, that's going to be
that.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit, it'll be fine, but
I agree with Clementine too. There's when you have so many main like big characters, you don't get to really empathize with any one particular person. And then they're just gone. Where was this comment? Yeah. Didn't even notice until you missed him.
Agreed.
Well, like I feel like there's other books that have lots of characters and lots of characters die and they hit harder. Like I'm thinking of the Game of Thrones books, like they have characters die all the time, but the deaths hit. Where in this book, the deaths did not hit.
Yeah. The author is not, his strong suit is not characters. And I think for this book and for what he was trying to do with it, if I had cared about those characters, it would have mattered so much more.
Agreed.
Because I would have cared about all the twists and the reveals and stuff.
Instead, it just felt like introduce a new character, kill off one to make up for that. Introduce a new character, kill off somebody else to make up for that. And all of the like past point of view and the amnesia thing, those were all characters that we had never met before, but we were expected to already have context for. And so I did not care because I'd never met them. I didn't care that he was putting somebody in this essentially machine thing and she was miserable because I didn't know her. So it just was just one thing after another, I think, with the characters.
I was very exhausted with Caden's constant battle between like, I'm on this side, I'm on this side. Am I on the right side? Am I on the wrong side? By the end of this book too, I was just like, okay, I'm over it. Like,
speaking of character names, was his wife's name not Elle and the god's name not also Elle?
Yep.
But they're not the same person that we know of.
That we know of, no.
Why?
The wife is Elle with 2 L's. Elle the god is 1 L.
Come on, you can't think of it
slightly short for something, but I can't remember what.
Ugh.
Yeah, I saw someone in the comments say this, and I agree too. I think it was like earlier, but someone was like, "Oh, the characters all having a million names for each person is like hard
Yes.
to handle, and I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that.
Agreed. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. Why make a book harder to understand than it already is?
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not the
love
only
that
one.
about the
What
new
in
of all
the
things. And
Oh, I
new
did too.
things in the
I
books.
just ignored it, to be honest. At some point,
Yeah.
I was just like, let's talk about some L, and I don't care anymore because I really just didn't care about anything that happened to Caden. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he's not a character to me at this point. Like, he just literally exists, and we get his memories, and he does something, and then we get his memories, and then he does something. And I was just like, where are the feelings? Like, I don't feel for you. What?
Is this a good time for my rant?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. So Clem and I were talking about this. Why in the hell, when he has all of these points of views in his past, are we calling him Caden and not Talcamar? Because his name in the past is not Caden, and so it made it so hard in the audiobook to figure out what was his point of view in the present and what was his point of view in the past, because his name was not Caden in the past.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
I did not have that problem.
I struggled with the audiobook for a little bit with getting with his point of views, because I was like, why am I not able to grasp what is going on right now? And then I pulled out the physical book and followed along, and I saw with the italics, I was like, oh, we're in the past right now. And I think it was because of the Caden name that I kept getting confused.
That was not his name.
Yeah, but he's seeing the past as his current self, who he thinks of as Caden.
Yeah, but
So
you
he
could have
doesn't see
done
himself
that
as
so
Talcamar.
easily
Yeah.
and just switched the name, and I still would have got the gist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense to me anyway. But I read it physically, so.
It was much easier physical.
because it's
So easy to see.
the italics versus the regular text.
Yeah.
But in the audio, like, there should have been some like verbal cue or something, because I struggled.
I feel like you were supposed to be seeing the struggle between who Caden is now and who Talcamar was then. And I feel like the past should have addressed him as Talcamar, because it would have given you a good delineation between the two characters, or the two, like, not characters, but they almost are essentially two different characters. And by calling him Caden in both, I just don't feel like you were seeing that struggle as well. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I was annoyed. Okay.
I never saw the struggle regardless, to be honest. He just kind of accepts that he is Telkamar, and now he's slightly better.
Yeah.
No, because Talcamar was good. And the other dude
And then bad.
he was.
And then good. And then bad.
I do like the part of his struggle that I liked the most was when he was struggling between whose responsibility his horrific deeds were. Like, was it the god control, like the god's will, and therefore all of this horrific stuff was on the god, or was it his like personal choice to do these that makes it these are his murders? Like, basically, who is the killer here? The will of this higher being, or himself, and like this realization that he can't just cast all culpability onto the higher being. Like, this is his decision to kill these people, his decision to do these bad things. I liked that conversation, but I feel like that was very much in the background too.
Yeah.
Is this the right side or is this the right side? I don't know.
It's like he was trying to do a little bit too much. Like, you want these deeper conversations, but he never went into those. He just kind of let them skirt by. And if he had gone into that and really kind of hammered that home, I think it would have made the characters feel more realistic, because you would have seen their struggles.
But also, does the author actually know the answer to that question?
Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be just like a question for you to think on.
Yeah.
As the reader, not a.
I don't like philosophy, so please don't.
Okay. Other things that are big that happen in this story is Aisha, however you say her name, and the shadows and the reveal with the shadows. How did everyone feel about that? Like, learning what happened.
Where'd it go?
Rachel hates it. Learning about like how the shadows were attached to the one person so they could drain their magic.
Yeah, I didn't really care.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't dislike it, but it's not a reveal that stands out in my head as like, oh, that was cool. Like, it was just like, that's a thing in this book. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, I didn't consider it a reveal. I was just like, yep, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is. Now thinking on it, I'm like, yeah, that is a reveal.
And well, it goes to Aisha so that she then has to take the spot and essentially
a plot device.
I was really happy that we got answers to the shadows, because last live show I was so annoyed that like, why do we have shadows in this world? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But I felt like it happened too little too late for me to even care, and I felt the same way. Like, it was just like, okay, here it is, here's the answer, it's just a thing now. But if I had gotten more reveals up to it, like more like little like hints and like things like that, or like little explanations, or an explanation earlier on that then this like kind of made more sense for, it would have worked more for me. But yeah, other than that, it's just a plot device to get her to do the thing, which also, like, fuck that, I'm gonna live.
Yeah. I just felt like even the explanation as to all of these things that they presented so that they could get the people under better control in the shadows and why they did that instead of just letting them be or killing them off. It was just a lot of talking at you. And I'm like, I want to see that. I don't want to hear that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and also, why did he go around opening all these things to then just put her under with more power? I was so confused about that.
Yeah.
He like freezes
what the bleeders were. Why they call them bleeders.
I think this comment I totally agree with, and that's why the reveal, while it didn't annoy me, it also didn't like, I didn't like it. I just feel completely indifferent about it, because I feel like the shadows were so in the background in this book. I was just not interested in them, and which sucks because Asha was like, I think my favorite in book one. I loved her plot line and like the shadows in this political arena, trying to like get them rights, and then being a spy and secretly like doing stuff. And I don't know, I just in this book I kind of forgot they existed for a long time.
Clementine,
I do agree with this.
I agree completely. I think the thought process was she wasn't drawing from their power, and it only happens when power was being drawn from them. But why would she not have been the whole first book? You know, I thought this too. I completely agree. And then it never is really fully mentioned. You just kind of assume that it's happening because somebody's drawing power from them.
Well, I think, well, I mean, I'm kind of just guessing here, really. But I think it's because of the fact that those are kind of like the moments when she's like kind of attacking Caden, I think. I think those are the ones, so she'd be drawing on them more.
That would make sense, but then I want that explained.
Yeah. And at least mentioned, like, just touch on it.
It could have just been one sentence. Like, that's how he explains everything else.
Fair point.
Even like the shadow reveal too, it happened so quickly. I had to reread the passage because I was like, wait, what just happened there? And then we get to the freaking island that they randomly find because, you know, now she can feel the shadows.
So dumb.
She just has all this power, but she doesn't use it until everyone freaking dies on the island.
And the creatures and all of that stuff, I was like, all right, where were the creatures in the first book? Why do we now suddenly have killer scorpions? Like, I'm very confused.
Well, because they're coming out of the boundary. But then also, I didn't realize there was a castle in the boundary and like a whole like life, like, people living there. I thought the monsters were over there, and maybe that was just me.
No, I didn't really understand what the boundary was at all until we like went there and saw it in this book. So a lot of the like fear over the boundary, I was like, okay, I believe the fear because they are afraid of it, but like I didn't understand where that fear was coming from.
Yeah, like I just assumed there was going to be like monsters and stuff that had to come through, and the boundary was keeping them back, like almost like a rip in time or whatever. But then there was this like castle with everyone living there, and I was like, why are we so scared of this? Let's take down the boundary and all be friends.
This is a different point of view. I didn't hate her in this book. I just felt like she didn't.
She's my second favorite still in this book.
Yeah.
With all the monsters in the boundary, it kind of reminded me of Shadow and Bone, like how there's
yeah.
Sad thing is, I liked that better.
feel like there was something else I was gonna mention, and I don't remember what it was now. Let me see. I think I took a little bit of notes, but I don't think I took a note on this particular thing. I think I forgot. Fuzz. So much fuzz. Oh yeah, that was one thing that really annoyed me. Yeah, I put chapter 8. This character's purpose is to tell him something he already knows. So I think there was one point where Caden was like talking to one of these people from his past that he was supposed to know, and we don't know who they are, and it's like this all-powerful, all-knowing thing. And it's when he first like meets his wife again and gets her back, and she's like, I forgive you. And he's like, my wife would never have done that. And she's like, no, I forgive you anyway. And then this guy comes in, he's like, but I'm here to tell you what you already know. And I'm like, why?
That happens a lot in Caden's past, I
He
find.
literally says that.
Something comes to give him a little piece of information. That's, yeah. Alaric, he goes off somewhere at some point. I don't even remember who Alaric is from the first chapter, but they made a whole big deal about him going off somewhere. Does anyone have any ideas what we think he
He's
did?
the swordsman that was in like, who was fighting over in the other country, the one that doesn't like the gifted even more than the other people.
Okay.
And he threw away the fight for political reasons, and then he was there with Kara, and Weir went to them, and that's the chapter that we found out that he was the prince.
Okay, but where do we think he goes? Any ideas? Because he just
People
leaves.
put money in. Well, they said that people put money into backing him to get him to this sword fight, and they're probably mad at him.
Oh.
I forgot that that's who this was this whole time.
Me too.
Like now I remember who it was.
Because there's so many
Y'all were
characters
talking
I
about it at
don't
the beginning, and I was like, wait.
care about. So like how am I don't keep track of them because like there's so many
They're there, and then they're gone.
and they have no personality that like I can't like when they talk I don't just like distinguish them apart from each other.
Because he was the brother to the girlfriend, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the guy with like gamble, like people are like chasing him. It's like almost like gambling debts, right? Yeah, and he leaves, and his sister is like pissed that Weir let him leave. That's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I think it's semi-intentional, but I'm not sure if it's worth it.
I mean, I'm enjoying it overall, but like,
Just say, listen to half of us, or go talk to Emma. Emma's a better person to talk to.
Emma has been very silent. She hates us right now.
yeah, but I
think the last time in the comment it was like way up here somewhere.
I think that the book is intentionally confusing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I don't like about it. I now think that I said this to Mel at one point. I said the Runic Kings, the Course of Dragons series does what this series tries to do, but like way better for me. Like it's confusing, but like it feels intentionally confusing. Where this one just feels confusing in order to like give you big reveals. Where the other, like, so that you're shocked. It's confusing for shock value.
Yeah. It's so that when you get to the reveal, you didn't have enough context, and you just, oh, that was what it was this whole time. But to me, there's not enough of like the little sprinkles, the foreshadowing. I feel like he loses sometimes.
I think it's there, but it's just buried so deep under so many other random shit.
Yeah.
That, like, of course it's going to feel shocking. And of course you're going to be able to find I think we'll be able to look at it when we see the reveal and find the Easter eggs. But it was like, how was I supposed to figure that out? Because there's so much of it and so many loose strands and so much things left hanging that like, it's just all shock. I don't know. That's my thinking.
We just figured you hated us right now. That's all. Of course, the Dragon makes you care about the characters. Yeah, I agree with that. It's just it does the foundation work better.
So bad.
Should we talk about the big reveal, like the big one, the ending?
Sure.
I was like, yeah, I don't remember it.
I was just gonna let that go. Just let you.
I know you.
It'll come back. It'll come back. Go. It'll come back. It's fine.
How do we think about young Damien entering 2,000 years before?
Okay. See, I am conflicted about this because on the one hand, he's probably my favorite character. And so, like, I don't want him to die.
Well, he
But
obviously is already dead.
well, yeah, but it's future Davian that goes back to the past, not current Davian. So he's not dead yet, but he is dead.
My whole
But so
Oh, that's not what I was thinking happened.
yeah, no, it was future. It was an older Davian, I'm pretty sure,
I
That's
assumed.
what I thought.
Oh,
and he went back to the past.
I missed
I
that.
might have missed it. I assumed that Kaden killed him and then shapeshifted, like someone shapeshifted.
Maybe. Anyway, that's what, the way I presume that it's happened is that future Davian goes back to the past and gets killed. Which
I'm
on the
probably
one hand,
I
on the
sped
one-
through everything,
yeah,
so I
on
probably
the
just
one
love it.
hand, I would not want that to happen because he is probably my favorite character. But then on the other hand, the author makes such a big point of everything is going to happen anyway. You can't stop it. So like it'll be a cop out if he doesn't kill off Davian. So I'm kind of in a bit of a like I don't want him to kill him, but also I'll kind of be upset if he does.
Mm-hmm.
Read it as an
Yeah.
original as well.
I think
Yeah.
it doesn't really say like what age Davian is in this.
Yeah, because
So
Cassian
yeah.
doesn't know who Davian is. So yeah.
I interpreted it as Davian, when he's older, goes back, and so we know how Davian dies, like,
Yes,
and Kaden
same.
kills him. But it doesn't say that either, so that's just, like, my interpretation of it. Like, it
Yes.
could be
Mm-hmm.
past
But yes,
Davian.
so-
doing that.
I
So,
feel like
yeah,
everyone else
basically,
assumed yours though. So
like yeah. So basically I'm just upset because either way it's a lose-lose for me. Either he cops out and it's like, oh, they fixed it. He's not gonna die, which I'll be upset about. Because your whole thing is, oh, you can't change fate. And but like also I don't want him to die.
This was the, like, I actually really liked this last section because I thought, like we were saying, that it was older, and so I was like, oh, poor Davian, like, he's gonna die, oh. And so that was, like, actually a character death that did hit me, because now we got the drama of, like, Kaden knowing he killed Davian in the past, like, and so when Davian, like, is able to go back, like, he knows that Davian has to do this to possibly set Kaden on the path that he
Yeah,
is
because clearly from what he's saying, this is the stuff that changes his mind and puts him on the path he's on now. So like he has to do that. But also, you know.
well, it in the story, yeah, like you can't change anything anyway. So like,
Yeah.
that's I think one of my big grips with it is like I wish the visions were like visions of one future, and like you could change it, because I'm always bored because I'm like, well, I know this is gonna happen. I know this is gonna happen. I know this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
But also I would like to say that I do find it very ironic because pretty early in the book when whatever, I don't know, one of the fellows with an A name says to Caden, whatever, about, oh, you know, you have to kill like all augurs. One of his first thoughts is, I can't kill Davian. Like,
Also for me, I was really annoyed with leading up to that plot reveal when Caden's being tortured and Davian saves him. I decided when I read that, I felt like the amnesia plot of the first book was there to give our other characters a blind trust of Davian, of Caden. And then that's why Davian just is like, oh, I trust you. But like, you really haven't been given any reason. Like, Caden really didn't do that much. He like picked up a sword and everyone ran away in the first book.
Yeah.
Like, I was really like unfulfilled by the fact that Davian just saves Caden even after knowing all the shit he knows, because he has this blind trust of him because he was a different character in book one.
I liked that because I feel like the book was kind of challenging it with the other sections, because like Weir's mom was mentioning like you're just gonna let them break the rules because you consider them friends. Like you have rules to uphold. You have to think of the greater good and everyone else, like instead of just thinking of your friends first before everyone else. And I feel like that's kind of what Davian did here, where he was thinking of friends first before greater consequences. And it's up to the like I'm not saying the book is saying one is better than the other, but it is like a theme I see of multiple characters' point of views of like do we think about everyone else and distance ourselves from our friends, or do we let our friends get away with things we wouldn't let like
Yeah, I
others
can see that, but I don't see their friendship. I think that's where it struggles for me. Like, I don't see them being like, we didn't even see them interact at all in this book besides that scene. Like, where is their friendship? Like, they had no friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to see them have like more character friendship moments throughout. Yeah, definitely.
Like, if we had done that, it probably wouldn't have bothered me as much.
Because I don't feel like there was a lot of moments. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bex.
No, I'm just saying it's especially difficult to show that when, like, literally they were never together in the book. Like, anyone, basically.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't feel like there was even a lot of moments where they talked about each other. Like, they were there, but for the most part, they were just kind of doing their own thing, and you didn't really see them warring over, well, where are my friends? What are my friends doing? Like, what happened to them? That was never an internal struggle for most of them.
The only friendships I found believable were in War's chapters with his girlfriend, with the bodyguard, even with like his mentor. I found like there was good relationships. Everyone else's chapters, I was like unsure about if people actually liked people or not. I was like, it doesn't feel like friendship to me.
Yeah, I agree with this. The foundation should have been laid a little better in book one.
Well, in book one, they don't trust
Pizza
Caden.
is here. Okay. Sorry, bad timing on my part.
We're probably wrapping this up anyways. Yeah, like in book one too, like I feel like they never trusted Caden fully. So I didn't see a friendship really grow there either because he couldn't remember his memories. So like I just needed a friendship. Like I needed it to happen.
Yeah.
I totally agree with Nikki's comment about the school. Like I feel like this book would, like the whole series would have worked so much better. And I am enjoying it, don't get me wrong, but the enjoyment would have been much higher if we just spent more time at the school and they used the school setting to teach us all the things like early on.
Just lay the foundation a little bit better.
Yeah. About the magic, about the politics, about like past history moments. Like just tell us that through the school setting. Give us like 100 pages at the school of like the friendships and the shenanigans and the drama over like people becoming shadows or not shadows and what that really means, and then move into the like journey section of the book. But yeah, if the school setting had been longer, would have been so much better.
It's almost like I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go Mel.
I was just going to say it almost like it should have been more like 5 books and just kind of stretched everything out a little bit and made them less bulky in the middle.
I'm currently reading Along the Razor's Edge, and they have a school setting that you don't actually see, but you get in flashbacks. And I think that would have worked really well, especially then. I wouldn't have hated if we'd done that in the first book. I might not have hated the other flashbacks in the second book as much.
Still only I liked them.
But
yeah, I still don't know that I completely feel their friendship, especially the Asha Davian romance.
Yeah, we're just always told that they're in love.
I don't see at all. And so he's like, no, I can't kiss this girl because Asha. And I'm like, but why though?
Well, we've seen Davian and Asha only interact like a couple times. Like I think you could count on one hand how many times you've actually seen them interact, because the first scenes he leaves the school before we really see them together. And then they get back together at some point when she's a shadow, but she's elsewhere and he's there. And then he leaves right away. And then we don't see them together again until we see that mind scene with them. Like we barely see them together, which is just like hard to like understand their romance then, especially because they have so much going on that we don't like talk about it ever.
Yeah, I agree. So it just didn't really seem like a point. And I do get the why did everybody have to have a romance? And normally this bugs me. It did not bother me in Weir's point of view. It felt very believable because we set it up a whole book ago. So it made sense. But the Asha Davian one, I just never really felt like it made sense.
Well, and the new girl crushing on him.
Yeah.
The Asha Davian one is definitely my least favorite, but I actually like Weir's and I like Caden's with the
I don't barely even remember that with Caroline or whatever.
Yeah. I forgot her name.
I never even saw that.
It was in book 1 mostly, and then book 2 it was like just reference, and he came back and he was like he told everything to her and she was like, I accept you. And then he was like, oh my God, she's amazing. But
he like always is trying to tell her that he's safe. I felt like that was believable to me. Like he's like, can you tell Kara that I'm okay?
Mhm.
He sees like Ware or something, and like he's like, I'll be back to see you. Like I felt like that was way more believable. It's just Asha and Davian where I'm like,
Pretty much.
let's stop forcing this. There's way more chemistry with other characters.
Yeah, apparently I just kind of skipped over this. Like I would hear her name every once in a while, but I don't feel like she was there enough for me to fully. Is this about Davian and Asha's relationship? I feel like I agree. Somebody said right here, it feels more like a childhood friendship where one of them is wanting to make it more than it is. But instead of a true romance, it feels like Davian is hanging on to his past and his comfort zone rather than there being a budding romance.
Rachel.
Maybe that's why I like it, because I loved Twilight.
Taboo dark romance coming in. This is why Melissa's here. This is what she's here for.
This is why Melissa knows.
Because they did have
Let
some
me tell you.
scenes in book 1 where like he sneaks out and she's supposed to like put him in jail, and she's like, I'm not going to, and then they have a talk, and he, like there's some tension. There is a lot of character moments between them in book 1, and so that's why
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. I just don't remember the second book. Apparently I read it too fast.
There's barely any.
It's a book that fleets your memory because there's so much to remember.
Yeah.
Like so many little things. So I think it also depends as a reader what you're more interested in, you'll pick up on, because there's so much like little things everywhere. Like I don't give two fucks about romance, so I'm just like, oh, okay, they're together. But like talk about a magic system, I'm like,
Tell me more. Sorry, just hit me. The Caden's 100 years old. Yeah, but nobody cares if it's in a vampire romance. Come on.
Anything else to say?
Douglas over here.
I feel like we never talked about oh god, what's his name? The augur that like could mind control everyone.
Oh, that guy.
Rowan. That was so creepy, and then it just ended so fast. And like,
I'm not even gonna scroll up to Rachel's comment, but she was really ticked off about that.
It's literally so quick. Like that was a cool plot area, and then I was like, okay, it's over.
Yeah, it was so cool, so creepy. I was like, oh my god, finally like something really interesting is happening in Davian's plot. Like I am so invested in this. How the heck are they gonna get out of this? And then they just got out of it like so fast. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's like, ooh, we've got a thing. Ooh, I'm spending too much time on this thing. Time to peace out. It totally gives them a reset. Don't know if that's how that works. Like when you're immortal, there's an age in which age just stops mattering. It's true. This book wasn't very impactful as a whole. Yeah, I agree. It just felt it was a very middle book. It was a lot of information that honestly was too much information. He's going to have to go back and hit on the high points in later books, I feel like, or in the last book, but I don't know that he will, which may make things real interesting come book 3.
I do feel like this author loves to drop information in one sentence and then just assume you will remember that one sentence for the whole rest of the time.
It's probably very exciteful for people who want that and like want to reread again and again and again and see it all. But like for me, it's not, because I want to see it all built up, and I want to be like reminded later on that this is this to help me build up more.
Yeah.
Oh, the good thing about book clubs. I literally said that in my series video. I was like, if it weren't for book clubs, I would be screwed.
A reminder that we are technically already supposed to have started A Life That All That Falls. So next month you must read it for the live show the next coming month. I really postponed this live show.
So the live show for A Life That All That Falls will be roughly the first weekend in March, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll all wait until the week before.
Yes. The day before.
Including the entire comments. I feel like a lot of us read it literally the week before.
I feel like you had to with this one. I don't know. I feel like as much as it is a book you could take your time with, I feel like it's not that book because there's just so much going on that I was like, I'll forget.
Yeah.
Same.
We have Alexi.
Hi, Lexi. Are you going to read the third one with us? Are you going to catch up? These are your favorite. There's an old white man narrating. They're over 500 pages. It's classic fantasy. It has all of your buzzwords.
Lots of
It
war.
makes you think. It makes you think a lot.
2 days before the live. February is short. I forgot about that. We lose like a whole
Me
week.
too.
Oh, Deb. No, you don't.
I feel like I can't read it early. Like part of me is like, oh, I should just start it soon. But then I was like, then I barely remember it all for the live show, and I read it 3 days ago. I finished.
Yeah. Have to remember what's going on. First 80% is a drag. Yeah, I feel this. We were literally talking about this. I think it was backstage. How the last, like, you had to really get to the last 20% for something to happen.
Mhm.
I understand why a lot of people really struggled with this book. Like 100%, it's middle book syndrome. I think I'm leaving it with a 2-star. I think my rating system is correct after talking about it.
Yeah.
And not a 3-star.
It's like some books have middle book syndrome. So, spoiler, but for Fires of Vengeance, like to me, the beginning of that book was very slow. It was a lot of setup. We were learning a lot more about the world, but it was enough that I was still intrigued by the snippets. And so by the time the last 20% happened and all the crap went down, I was still invested to get there. Whereas with this one, it just felt so much like a slog. That sounds really mean, but I don't know any other way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sticking with my 3.5, but it's definitely a 3.5. Like on Goodreads, where you can't do half stars, it's getting the 3 stars, not the 4 stars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, we can always. You know what? I could be convinced.
We can emerge.
Technically, March is our month off, too.
Yeah, because the next series won't pick up till April, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. How does that coincide with Wheel of Time?
Oh shit, that fucks us up for Wheel of Time.
Uh-huh.
I need to get on picking our next series then.
I was like, oh, wait, we overcommitted.
Yeah, never mind. Never mind. March is not our month off. Don't listen to me. I need to pick our next series.
Like now.
Well, that video's coming soon.
Hey, then you don't have to worry about what to film. We're solving a problem for you. It's fine. Okay. Does anybody else have any last minute comments before we derail on a completely alternative topic? Pointing out that it really does need to be a February read. Shush. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine.
Well, yeah, thanks for reading this book with us. I hope the third one is like really good. I'm still hopeful.
Yeah. I'm looking for my 3-star.
Me too. I'll get it.
Because for me, a 3-star is still solid. So, listen, I love Cassidy, but I feel like they're cursed.
The reason Rachel's saying that is because Rachel's read both of the ones I'm really considering.
I know. Yeah, this is true. This is true. We have insider information here.
I have no promises.
This is never going to happen, Clementine. I feel like she lives in the realm of thick books.
And I need someone to help me like read thick book series. So like that's what all of you are there for.
It's a solid time. Okay. Well, anything else?
I got nothing. We all have an announcement coming soon on our channels.
2 hours.
Very exciting. Stay
Very
tuned.
different than what we're doing right now, but
Yeah, it's kind of like a 180, but
we didn't do any such thing. We did not force you. You volunteered. This is true. The live shows do tend to last longer when we have more to rant about. Alrighty. Well, we will see you all in 2 hours. Otherwise, be on the lookout for Cassidy's video with what the heck we're reading next, coming to a screen near you soon. Okay, bye everybody.